there's a story in every bottle.
We're live again.
We are.
Yeah, guess what?
I like being live.
Let's get right to it. The glasses are
Let's
empty.
get right to it. Oh,
The
right out of the
glasses are
gate.
empty. I'm sorry. It's Monday. It's 5:30.
That's good.
Oh,
That's
look
good.
at
Look at
white
this.
face. I thought we were talking about Lake House White today.
Well, there's a story. There's a story in every bottle.
There's a story in
And
every
this one has
bottle.
one.
Oh, good. Well, I can't wait to hear this story. But before we hear this story, let's deal with some of the business before we do.
All right.
First,
But hold on.
What? Oh,
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, sorry. Excuse me,
Yes.
just for one minute. There you go. Cheers.
Cheers.
White face. Can't wait to hear the story.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And this is 2000. Oh, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
2012. Yes, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Gonna have-
This is
so-
9 years old.
A couple things. While we wait for a couple more people to join us, I just wanted to go over some of the ground rules here. Of course, you know we go live every Monday at 5:30, and we look forward to
We drink.
to chat. Yeah, we
Every
drink.
Monday.
That is
Yeah.
probably why we got in this business, isn't it? We
Part
really
of it.
like to drink together.
Part of it.
It's really great. There's so much more to it, though. So we're going to get into the more to it part today and dig in really deep on Lake House White. It's one of my favorite wines that we make.
too.
It's an outstanding wine. If you haven't tried it, I hope you get a chance to someday. But we're going to go through a vertical tasting of Lake House White from 2011.
12. Started at 12.
I'm sorry, 2012
Started at 12, coming up to 18.
to
It's our most recent
2018.
one in bottle.
We have a lot of wine to drink.
We have
today.
8 bottles to go through today.
Wow.
This is good.
Wish us luck.
We have 7 minutes per bottle.
We might get, yeah,
Go.
Marika's already made that known. So if you're with us today, please like our broadcast and share it with any of your friends who you think would enjoy hearing us chat.
Okay,
we
you
want
ready
to
for the
spread
next
word.
one?
No, wait, let me get through this. So I haven't even drank yet. We cheers and I didn't drink. I'm sorry, I got it. It's not appropriate to cheers and
This
not
is
drink.
really aged beautifully. It still has this incredible.
Oh, we need to talk
flavor
about this. So let me
profile.
get through this. We've got to go into this quick. So anyway, yeah, please leave, like us, share the post, make comments if you like, and if you have questions, ask them in the comment section. We'll get to the questions as best we can. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. You can click the little bell on Facebook, and that will allow you to subscribe to our Facebook live feeds, and you'll get notice of them in the future. And of course, with YouTube, if you look down at the bottom right of your screen, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you'll get notice from YouTube. So I hope you do those things. Please spread the word. We want to let people know what we're doing here. And by the way, today, before we get off this broadcast, I'd like to tell everybody about our idea for how we might shape this into the you So
Sure.
we'll remember
Sure,
to do
you gotta
that. So
share, you gotta save that?
You got to stay to the end if you want to
All
hear
right.
what's
All right.
coming up
The
in
new-
the future. So without further ado, I want to say hello to a couple of our regular folks. Matt, thanks for joining us again. And
Excellent.
and Lynn, Margaret, thanks for joining us. Lynn says, Margaret Little says, we need a good chill tonight. Hi from Deer Isle, Maine, Penobscot Bay.
Yeah.
Very
Oh,
cool.
yes.
Oh,
Very
it's a
nice.
favorite spot.
Yes.
I hope to be back there soon. And Gary's joined us. Hi, Gary.
Excellent.
By the way,
Hi, Gary.
Gary, I did see your car. Sorry I couldn't talk to you. I was in it up to my teeth with the tasting that day when you popped your head upstairs. So sorry I didn't.
I got a chance to talk to him. I saw the car and I thought, oh, that
must be
That's
Gary's.
Gary. And I pulled in and he was sitting across with Paula in the garden. So I went over and said hi and talked to him about the car.
Excellent.
There was
Yeah.
a big car show that they had gone to.
Cool. I'm glad I got a chance to see it. I wish I got to see it in person with you, but
So just so everybody knows, Chuck is traveling today. It's part of his job. He's a pilot and he can't be with us. Apologizes for that. But next time he's here, we'll be sure to have a glass of wine with him.
You never know. He may jump in. He sometimes does.
He
Or
said
is on the plane?
he said he couldn't join us.
Ah,
Yeah.
shoot. All right. Well, anyway, great to see you all here. Let's get into the show. We've got a lot of wine to drink and relatively short amount of time to do it. So
can you switch the cameras over? And
That's what I'm gonna
maybe
do.
go through the profile here.
Yeah. Tell us
So
what we
this is
have.
this is a nice lineup. So we're going to go from 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16, 18, which is our most recent one. I don't have a 17. And then we have a couple of commercial versions of the grape Chardonnay. A lot of you know about Chardonnay, and the reason that we have a couple of bottles of Chardonnay is that although this wine is not made with Chardonnay grapes, there are some aspects and characteristics to it that are somewhat reminiscent, especially on the French side, into the white Burgundy. But it's its own thing, and we're going to walk you through the evolution of this. You know, as you all know, Bob and Chuck and I got very interested in wine together back in about 2005 or 2006, something like that. The winery didn't start until 2010. Was there a circuit switch to keep that thing from coming on?
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
Okay.
You keep telling me about the wines. I'll be right back.
Thank you. We got interested in making wine, and at first we were importing grapes and learning the process of making real wine from classic wine grapes. And as we were exploring wine regions, we discovered that two things. There's certain areas that grow wine grapes really well, and the winemaker gets to nuance the characteristics, but it's really dictated by the quality of that grape. So the winemaker gets to nuance it a little bit, but the quality and character of that grape dictates what you end up with. We live in central New Hampshire, not a place to grow classic wine grapes. So we flipped it around and said, all right, the best wine comes from those areas. This is California and France, where those grapes grow really well. What grows particularly well here in New Hampshire? Let's see if we can make fine wine out of it. And Hermit Woods is the product of that process, because it just made a lot of sense to us and continues to make sense to us over and over again. We're introduced to new fruit, new ideas, and crafting wines that are age-worthy, that have structure, that pair with food. So these are reminiscent of real wines that we're used to drinking and consuming. And white wine, Chardonnay, is one of the most widely grown grapes. It's a very unique grape in that it's very chameleon-like. It really changes color to its environment. And of course, the winemakers can push it further, but it's really the environment that dictates it. So what we started to do was to explore different fruits and vegetables and flowers and all sorts of stuff making wine. And early on, they would be done in pieces or in small combinations. And this first example that we have here is from 2012, and it's a combination of peach and quince and rose hips. And rhubarb and rose hips. This is the blend, which is now our Lake House White. But it was originally called Whiteface, which was an area that you and Chuck and I would ride our mountain bikes on. Right over here in the Belknap Mountains. So it's named for a local mountain with a big, steep, gnarly, rocky face to it. So in this year, in 2012, we made a Lake House White, but it was peach, rhubarb, and rose hips with no quince. This was later in 2012 when I got a hold of some quince and I blended it with those components. And we liked this so much that going forward, 13, 14, 15, all the rest of the Lake House Whites have those four key components.
So we liked those components, but we liked the Lake House White name.
But we like the Lake House White name. Right.
There you go.
So that's how we did it.
This is amazing.
Most of these fruits and components, thank you, came from Greg Mee down at Cole Garden Distillery. And
if you haven't been to Cole Garden, you should put it on your list.
Yeah, it's about a half an hour south of us here, just north of the Shaker Village in Canterbury.
Yep.
So there's a great historic site to go visit there, beautiful fields, very bucolic agricultural setting. And Greg Mee grew up in this house. This is his childhood homestead. He's in his 70s now. And he and his wife Hillary grow all sorts of fantastic fruits and flowers. And Greg takes quince and rose hips and rhubarb and turns those into brandies. So he distills this stuff. We make wine out of it. So you're enjoying this, right? I think it's just got this magical component to it now. I haven't had this in
It's amazing. This is
time.
the best lake house white face that you've ever made. And this is what I always say. When you actually make your best wine, we're probably never going to get to try it.
Well, it is, part of, unless we can figure out how to transport our consciousness into some robotic
we're going to have to do that.
Sensory components to it so we can actually enjoy it.
Because absolutely, this is 9 years old, and this is absolutely the best lake house white that I've.
Well, you're going to try. Hold on your description here, because you got a whole bunch more to try.
Sure. Well, I can change my mind.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So far, this is your favorite. This is your favorite.
Right now, yeah. And that doesn't take anything away from the current lake house white. The current lake house white is fabulous.
We're gonna try that soon.
You can't make age. You can only wait for it.
That's right.
And so we've had to wait 9 years to get this to be what it is right now, and it's truly amazing. It's really amazing.
It's holding up really well. I'm
really
surprised. There's not a lot of tannic structure to these wines, like a lot of Chardonnays,
nice.
But it's holding up.
The clarity is
beautifully.
nice.
It's holding up beautifully.
And this is before you even had some of the nice equipment.
Oh, I didn't have any of it. I didn't have any of it. Part of my notes going back is when I would make this, especially as I scaled up into 14 and 15, before we went and bought a lot of equipment, including a chiller.
Right.
But we were scaling up the batches. I was struggling with heat. When yeast convert the sugars into alcohol, it's exothermic. It gives off heat, and it can drive up the heat of the ferment, and then the delicate aromatics can be blown off, and you lose those. So a lot of white wines are crafted where the temperature is controlled and kept cooler. The ferment takes a little longer, and you trap some of those subtle floral components. So what I would do, because I didn't have a chiller, is I would keep some of the fruit that I wanted in the ferment frozen. And I would add 5 pounds of frozen rose hips every other day to control the temperature. And it also made sense to me because the longer you have fruit in the ferment, it gives off its fruitiness, and then it starts giving off some other more rougher structural tannic sort of components from the seeds, from the skins. They take longer to pull out. To extract. Mm-hmm. So by doing multiple additions, it's like Dogfish Head's 60-minute IPA, adding hops every minute for 60 minutes straight, you get different characteristics of the hop. This is what's going through my head making this wine. Add the fruit at different times, and I'm going to get a more complex profile. When you have Chardonnay, you pick all that Chardonnay and you crush and squeeze off that juice and you ferment it. It's a done deal. And here, because I'm working with these different components, I have the opportunity to make it up.
Nuance.
And to nuance it. Yeah.
All right.
Heavily nuanced. All right, let's go to another one.
So we got to do another. We got 7 wines to go through. We got to work through these pretty quick.
So
this is delicious.
I'm really enjoying this. Yeah.
How many more do we have of those?
Well, there was a total of 52 bottles, and of whiteface total ever in history.
We probably
and
have many.
I think there's 4 more in the warehouse.
I know I have one in my cellar.
You have one? Good.
We're gonna keep it.
We got to see how long it lasts. The last notes I have, because I'm going to add my notes today. The last time we tried whiteface was in 16.
Yep.
2016.
Let me see if we got any comments from the audience. Marika is scolding us. Efficient today. We have to be efficient.
Efficient. Yes, we're being efficient.
Okay.
Open up another one here.
Which isn't very good. Let's see.
We'll go every other glass.
I like this comment from Judy. Hermit Woods really capture your goals of using local products and getting a great wine that refi.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's really encapsulates the goals here. Seeing what we can do with what grows naturally right here.
Real wines that reflect the region.
Yes.
Oh, Matt says he doesn't have that. Sorry, Matt.
He doesn't have whiteface?
I think maybe I'll help you with that, Matt. Don't worry. So back to the next wine. What are we drinking now?
So now we're going to the 2013 Lake House White.
So this is 1 year later.
So this is 1
when
year
we
later,
combined
and this is the biggest batch. So this is when I jumped up to 1,000-liter scale. So we were. This is the first batch in this new facility.
It's different.
And it's a different profile for sure.
What? No, wait. What year is this?
13.
It wasn't in this facility.
Yeah, we moved here in 13, in the fall of 13. I made wine here in the fall of 13. And we opened to the public in the 14. I'm positive.
You sure?
I had to get here by the crabapple ferment, by harvested crabapple. So we moved in.
Wow.
You and Chuck were up here until 2 a.m, spray painting white paint while I was in Virginia looking at rocks to get it done before crabapples were harvested.
All right.
So this was made here. This is one of the first wines made here.
Very different nose. You know what we're gonna have to do after this? Sorry, we won't be able to do this. We don't have the time. But I'd like to put a little bit in a glass across a row and taste them next to each other. But this is different.
To me, this is what I was struggling with in trying to understand how to harvest rose hips. This to me is dominated by unripe rosehip aromatics. It's a little grassy, a little green on the aromatic.
Exactly.
And that, I've learned how to deal with rosehips now.
It also has what is it, an astringency, a tangy, acidic character in the finish that's not as clean as the white face. Yeah, it's kind of...
Now this has a little bit of a fine sediment that developed in the bottle, and I remember my notes, it was sterile filtered like the rest of them, and it was crystal clear when it went into the bottle, but something still wasn't jived or figured itself out.
You say sterile filtered. Did you even have the ability to sterile filter?
Yeah, I did. It was that little Inomatic.
That was a sterile filter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it had a 0.25 micron, actually.
Oh, wow.
Even a tighter filter than we use now. But this also was the one and only time where I diverged in a yeast. So this was split in 2 different containers, and I used 2 different Burgundy strains of yeast. One was called Opal, one was called CY3079. And so I liked them both, but in the end they got blended. So this has got a more complex...
So the first one was which yeast?
CY3079. And
just one?
All the rest of these are that one.
Okay, yeah. So that's part of what maybe made the change.
Maybe. I don't. My notes for the Opal yeast back then were really nice, and I thought that the contribution to having both those yeasts was really good. But wait, because as soon as we get up into this realm, then it's the wild yeast. After we met with Gideon, I've been doing wild yeast ferment ever
Coming
since.
in on which fruit? On all of them?
On the peaches.
On the peaches.
Yeah.
Okay.
The peaches make the most of it, and the reason, folks, today, this Monday, I'm so excited to talk about Lake House White is that my assistant Cody and I put 1,800 pounds of peaches into the fermenter yesterday because they were at their peak ripeness. So Sunday was the day that we needed to deal with these peaches. And the peaches are so ripe, when you pick them up, you can puncture the skin with your fingers easily. So we look at each and every peach and then just puncture the skin with our fingers. And that goes into the ferment, and no yeast is added. And it's already fermenting, ripping along on the natural yeast.
That fur on the yeast, on the peach.
The fur is different. The fur is different. But,
no, I'm just saying that fur probably is a really nice surface for yeast to collect.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And you know what was interesting was that as the peaches ripened, the amount of white yeast coatings increased on the fruit.
Well, sure,
I can see it on the
yeast.
They're all growing already.
We know where the fun is. I guess yeast aren't stupid after all.
The other thing that...
So if it was growing, do you think that was the yeast that was on there growing, just multiplying itself? Or do you think it was yeast from the environment
I don't know.
finding its way?
I don't know. It has to be just airborne. It's probably in the orchard.
Right, but you said it was growing here in the winery as they were ripening.
It came in on the peaches.
Okay, so it was multiplying
on the yeast. So the yeast comes
peaches.
in, yeah. Okay. And some of them are bruised. And
it's likely that the yeast in that orchard will be the same yeast in that orchard every year.
The research shows very complicated yeast components. Wineries that never use any commercial yeast that always just use the yeast that comes off their vineyard have a whole bunch of commercial yeast strains in their winery. They're doing these DNA tests now on yeast, and they're finding these highly competitive yeasts battling it out all over the place. It's fascinating. So it's probably in all cases a wild mixture. I'm adding a specific commercial strain that was sourced from grapes, Chardonnay grapes in France, and then replicated in a lab, and it's sold as a commercial yeast. And that's what I use. And one of the things that's very important here that they developed long ago for making nice Chardonnay is to do a sur-lie process. So the fine yeast that settles in the tank over time has some complex proteins and other things in it that can enhance the mouthfeel and character of the wine. So you literally stir that up and make the wine cloudy again. Most of the times, people have a wine in a tank and they're letting it settle to clarify from gravity. But the French were the first to really capitalize on this. They found a much better mouthfeel and coating to the wine when they stirred up that yeast. So all of these Lake House White wines go through that sur-lie process. All right, so that's 13. So not as nice as the Whiteface, I agree. There's more here. It's a complex range, but I find it's a little bit steely and has some woody, like pencil, graphite shavings to it.
But I agree. It's still a nice wine. It's just, after coming off that first one, it's hard to compare. It's just, that first one was just so nice. I don't have any left to compare, but it just was rounder, more balanced. It was just nice.
All right, we're gonna move on here.
But this is one of my favorite wines anyway, so I think I'm going to like all of them on some level or another, unless something.
So that was 13.
Yep. Now you're going to jump.
I did some
14?
trials. Yeah, now I'm going to go to 14. And my notes say that this was similar to 13, but it only had the single yeast. And
so why do you think you went back to just a single yeast?
I don't know. My notes said it was all great. I should use both of them. I don't know why I went to one.
Maybe you found out later in the game that.
Oh, no, I think because I did a single batch.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know.
We gotta try some of this food. We have some great food here.
Yeah, let's try
comes out
some.
of our deli here. Lots of local meat and cheese producers. And Marika put together this wonderful board. So we should try some of these things with the Lake House White.
I think Taylor actually put this together.
Did Taylor put it together? Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Taylor.
All right. So here's 14. It's so great to be able to go back through these vintages.
8 years. No, 7 years. 7
Yes,
years.
now
maybe.
7 years
14,
ago.
7 years. The color seems consistent amongst them.
Pretty consistent. This one looks a little darker. It is, I have noticed, this wine seems to be quite sensitive to aging and in darkening in color over time.
Has a really fruity nose. More fruity than the other two.
Oh, see, this seems closed to me when I first smell it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I get all kinds of fruit.
Wow, this doesn't have nearly as much aroma to me. This is much brighter than the 13. But
I gotta stop drinking all my wines.
which do you want more of? We're gonna work our way through. Did you try? Tell us about this cheese, or try it with the wine.
Yeah, we'll try some cheeses here.
See, I get more. Excuse me. I get a little bit more quince on the nose. Quince to me, when you ferment it on its own, it has an aroma that's very reminiscent of a fresh can of tennis balls being opened. I know I've used this before and I'm stuck on it, but you get some tennis ball on that?
I get the tennis ball in this one. I do. I'm finding myself continuing to compare to that lake house to the Whiteface. That was so good. This is more similar actually in taste to the last one.
To the 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very similar in format.
I'm going to try it with the brie cheese and a little toast.
Oh, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to try it with this cheese, which I believe is a goat cheese.
A lot of pungent flavor in that brie.
Oh no, this is a mozzarella. Mozzarella, very simple, light, delicate.
Oh, that's good.
Does it go with it?
It does. And actually, that acidity that's a little higher in this than the first one.
This does seem a little brighter.
Yeah, it's a little brighter.
I think my ratio is higher with quince here. I don't have all my ratios written down for each one of these, except for one, the 16 that we'll talk about in a minute. And of course, the one thing that we don't have here that would be perfect with Lake House White is a big steaming bowl of mussels.
Absolutely.
Made in Lake House White.
And I meant to, I'll post the link. Okay.
I need that link.
I put a recipe together for mussels. So I use the classic French mussel recipe. So you can Google the French mussel recipe. You'll find lots of versions, but they're very similar. And just replace the wine that
The
they
Chardonnay
suggest
or whatever.
with Lake House White and serve Lake House White with the mussels, and it's amazing. It's a really, really wonderful combination. There's very few things that I enjoy eating with Lake House White more than mussels made with it. It's just fantastic. I'll try and remember to post the recipe in the link from this broadcast.
I think part of the synergy between white wine, Sauvignon Blanc, white Burgundy, with seafood has been some of the bright acidity that you get in the wine cuts the oils, the butter, and the other things that are used in those dishes, and they go really well together. And it's a nice complement. That goes really well with the cheese. Even with that strong brie.
It's very pungent.
It's very pungent,
but the acidity
but they
of this
go
cuts
really
right
nice.
through, yeah. It's a nice flavor. It adds to the flavor.
Another thing that I think is important for you folks out there that may have heard that, serve your white wines chilled, serve your red wines at room temperature.
It's always done wrong in America.
It's always done wrong. There's really, the white wines that have been in the fridge, straight out of the fridge, are just too cold. They're closed down. It collapses the whole aromatic. It doesn't let them express themselves. They need to come up. They need to be cellar temp, 55, 50 degrees, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. And reds also, I was going to some restaurants and they pour a glass of red wine and it's warm. And it's just too warm. It's not pleasant to me. I like taking a bottle of Hermitage or red wine out of my cellar and bring it up.
Nice and cool.
Nice and cool. And the fruitiness comes out. You still have all that tannic structure, that big red impact, but I don't know. It's a nicer way to do it, I think.
From what I've read and what I've understood, yes, your whites coming out of the refrigerator are too cold. Warm them up. Bring them up to 45 degrees or somewhere thereabouts. Just leave them out of the fridge for a little bit before you serve them.
Yeah.
But the reds, the same thing. People think of room temperature. They think, well, the wine
kitchen
rack
table
in the kitchen or in the living room is acceptable for room temperature. And it is if you're looking for the room temperature where you're comfortable, but not where the wine is comfortable. What is really referred to by room temperature is your cellar temperature.
Yeah.
What is ideal for the cellar. And most red wines really ideally should be around 60, 62, 64 degrees from what I've read. Yeah. There are some exceptions. Your big, bold Zins or Cabernets might be able to be enjoyed at a little warmer temperature, 68, but not at 70, 72, never.
Or 85, like on a
warm summer day these days. So yeah, take your red wine off the rack and put it in the fridge for 30 minutes, bring it down 10 degrees, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. So we're going to let's move through these fairly quickly,
and
then we can go back.
All right, let's do that.
And taste them.
Line them up.
So we're going to 2015
I saved
here.
some to compare this time.
Don't worry, we can get more glasses too.
This has the same color.
It is surprisingly consistent. I've been making this wine all which way, every time a little bit different, trying to push things a little differently. Of course, we have the vintage to deal with, that we're getting different rainfall, different environment, different microbes out on the plants doing their thing. But you still, I find this with the blueberries too, I can make them all sorts of different ways, but they still gravitate towards back to what they want to be.
That's good, because that's what
That
you
is
want to
good.
do, right? You want
That
to
is.
make
You want
the
some
wine that
consistency.
the fruit and the terroir.
I mean, I
wants
smell
to
this,
be.
and it's Lake House White.
Yeah,
I smell it.
Obviously.
We've had 4 bottles in a row.
What's
It's
really
all
cool
Lake
is
House
they're-
White.
they're
They're a
all-
little different.
Well, just a
Yeah.
little different,
Yeah.
which is, I love that, because this is also about your progression.
Yeah.
When you started off on this path of figuring out how to take the local fruit and craft these classically styled wines.
Yeah.
Nobody's done it before. You can't like go to a book
There's no
somewhere.
roadmap
There's no
for this.
roadmap.
Right.
And so that's what you've been doing every year. You're trying different things, different yeasts, different fermentation methods, different maceration, different press times, all of these variations.
Part of it's learning myself.
Yeah, of
you know,
course.
as a geologist turned winemaker, but also to see what fruits do well, what works with them, what yeasts work better with them, what fermentation styles work
Sure.
better, all of that
There's
sort
no
of stuff.
there's no prescription. So a winemaker who's working with grapes has 1,000 years of history. It's been documented for 1,000. Winemakers have been making notes about their production of wine for a long time. We understand a lot about grapes. We don't know anything about quince and rhubarb
Fermented in a classic way.
Fermented in a classic way. No idea. There's no record.
There's no damn roadmap.
And you're on your 4th one at this point. The 4th time that you experimented
That
with
is
this.
hard.
Yeah.
That is hard.
Versus the 1,000th time somebody's put these ingredients together and made something out of it. So it's really remarkable to see the progression.
So this was really interesting.
Yeah, I actually, your acidity, sorry, I don't know.
Yeah.
The acidity is dropping. So it's rounding again. It's going back for me.
Going back towards the white face.
towards the white face.
Interesting.
You're starting to get a rounder, more balanced.
So when you say rounder, you mean round in the mouthfeel or round in the balance of flavors?
Both, because both mouthfeel for me really reflects balance, because you
don't get a sharp point sticking out one way or the other.
Things are jumping out when you first get it into your mouth and then you swallow it. There's 2 different, very distinct characteristics.
Yeah.
I find a rounder wine, the presence of the wine in the beginning when I first put it into my mouth and when I finish it has a balance to it. It seems they go together, just like the food and the wine go together. That's
that is really key. And when I was reading back through the notes about this vintage, this is 2015, I did some bench trials by adding a little bit of kiwi or adding a little bit of strawberry to this wine. And you came in on those notes and said, the strawberry is nice, but it's disjointed. That was one of your comments that I just stuck out. And that's really key. A wine that's disjointed is quite common especially when it's young or it's early or you're trying to blend, is to have things be in that balance. And the perfect balance is sublime. You don't even really, you move from one flavor to another, but it's a continuum that is so tightly woven together. It's like gears meshing perfectly. You don't even know it. And if there's something sticking out, like you said, disjointed, it pokes out. You all of a sudden just get a big zing of this or that, and it doesn't jive well. So anyway, this does not have any strawberry in it or kiwi in it because that didn't seem right. But I was trying always to see what other additions might work with the wine.
As you should. You're only on version number 4, and the possibilities are infinite.
Yeah.
So you have a long way to go.
Yeah. Do you get any diesel on this? So it's not like the classic Riesling diesel reductive aroma that there's some, Moselle, German whites that can have this really reductive closed component to it that comes across smelling like diesel fuel. And for many people, it's terrible. It just ruins the wine for them. It's like Brettanomyces or something for some people. That's just smelling horse sweat while you're drinking a red wine seems really bad to some people.
I kind of like it.
Other people like it. I like it.
Barnyard.
The barnyard. Yeah, that barnyard, that horse sweat
I don't get
thing.
diesel. I get steely.
Okay.
A little steely. I don't get diesel.
Yeah, it's really It's really faint, and I think the steeliness is really what's there. It may be a little reductive, a little sulfur note.
Well, it's darker. Like you pointed out,
It
the
is a
color's
little darker,
which
yeah.
means it may have had more oxygen exposure.
Yeah. But that goes against if it had a little extra sulfur in it, because that would keep it from going darker.
So,
All right. 16.
So it's-
this is really the beginning of the modern Lake House White.
okay. So
I'm so interested to try this wine because
before you go, so on a graph, if you were to graph the four we just had, we're going to go kind of like, so, however, for you.
Okay.
So I obviously still, I think your white face
was the best.
is the best of
There
them.
are only 52 bottles of that
I
bottle.
know, it's sad. So,
Originally.
it's sad. So, and so let's see.
Then we did 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
The
So
13,
so the next three are sort of bobbing along right underneath on the graph. They're up and down. There's some pros and cons, but they've come down and they're bobbing along below the.
They're not the
below
white
line.
face.
They're not the white face. And of course, we still got to remember that we can't take away the fact that you don't have 9 years of age to any of these. So whatever we come up with,
Sure.
we still have to take into account that that's got
the
9
age
years
of
age.
each one of these is progressively less aging.
And that still amazes me when you talk about age wines. I mean, never ever forget the very first time when we began talking about becoming a winery, we talked to a winemaker in the area who said, you really can't age fruit wine.
Yeah.
You don't age
you don't
fruit
age fruit wine.
And here we're drinking this fruit wine that you made 9 years ago, and it is amazing.
Well, it was shocking. It just seemed completely wrong to me that you couldn't age fruit wine. That was like a paradigm that didn't make sense.
It doesn't make any
It
sense.
just
at all.
didn't make any sense.
Exactly.
If you have the things that create an ageable product, the tannic structure, the acidity, the fruit, the alcohol, those 4 components are the building blocks for ageability. Whichever one is weakest sort of nails down when it's going to start to taper off and drop off. And these are built in sort of a red wine format. So these are all built on the whole fruit, as opposed to a lot of white wines that are built without the skins. So we're incorporating all sorts of complex molecules from the skins.
Oh, that's interesting.
Polyphenolics.
Yes, because
And
you've got the
those
skin of all these
I've got the
fruits.
skin of everything that's
Yeah.
going in here. So these are built like a red wine.
So they're going to age better just for
So
that
they
reason.
should age better that way. I think. I don't know.
While you're opening that, I'm going to check in. We haven't checked in
Okay.
with our
Yes,
audience.
let's check in.
Let's check in, see where everybody's at. Let's see. Matt says every time you mention unfiltered, he wants honeycomb.
I'm with you, Matt.
I like it. I like it.
Yes.
And Severe. Oh, Anne's here. Good to see you, Anne. She said better late
Oh,
than never.
great.
Don't know what the exact reference was, but that's
Maybe
true.
she showed up a little bit late.
And oh, look, Jessica's joined us. And,
Excellent.
Let's see. Oh, Geraldine, second to 3 Honey wine.
Lake House
Geraldine's favorite wine is Lake House White.
Yeah.
It's true.
I'm with her too. I drink a lot of Lake House White. It is one of my favorite go-tos.
She says you need to have a very analytical mind. Well, that's why we have a scientist making our wine. You do need to have an analytical mind.
I can't help it.
It's true.
It's just what it is.
Let's see what else we got here.
Oh yeah.
Geraldine, she says very delicious and decadent. You know what? I'm gonna guess she's tuning into the mussels discussion. We both really enjoy the mussels.
We need to do that, Bob.
We do need
we
to
need
do
to do that together.
So,
And what if you added a little 3 honey to the Lake House White? Oh, what if I did a Lake House White 3 honey?
Oh boy, there's so many options.
What about that? What about, my notes back in 2012, I did a rosehip mead. Do you know that? I did a rosehip mead back then. I got to pick more rosehips. There's all there's.
Rosehips? I have to agree.
Yeah.
Rosehips are an amazing fruit. Well, let me check one more. Wait. Marika says this is important. The older vintages look much darker in color. Is that the effect of aging, or is the
That's a
wine
great
more
question.
golden to begin with?
That's a great question.
It's a good
And,
question. Thank you, Marika.
I don't have an answer to that. What I really need to do is to document, take a glass or take a graduated cylinder and pour 50 mils into it, have a white background, photography, the lighting changes color. And I need to replicate that and take a photograph of it every year to see if it's changed. These strike me as a little darker than when they first went into bottle. And that's what happens with these lake house whites. They tend to get darker in color.
It's true with all whites than the age, is it not?
It is, but this seems more susceptible to it. It seems a little bit weak when it comes to holding color. These are lighter in color when they go into bottle, and over time they darken in color.
Well, that may be true, but what is wrong with that color?
Oh, there's nothing wrong with the color.
That's a nice color.
I mean, I love aged wines that change color.
Yeah.
Oh, Marika spoke to someone today that has a 2010 crabapple wine.
From us? A 2010?
2010.
That was our first one.
First one.
We kind of made that inappropriately, didn't we? Before we got our license. I won't talk about that.
No, we didn't do that. So, Bob, this is, you probably remember this. Oh. You came to me once and said, Ken, do you ever have a chance to just build your lake house white separately so you can really control the blend? And this is the first year that I made everything separate.
Well, I got to tell you.
And then I blended it down.
Right out of the gate.
This is round.
The nose. Right out of the gate.
Goes right back to the white face.
It's
right?
got that nice brown. Yes, the nose is.
It's all together.
Perfection.
It's all together.
I haven't tasted it yet, but that's right there. So I got you were saying, before I was saying that fruitiness, but the fruitiness is now balanced with some of the earth and some of the, and
the steeliness.
It's all there.
Oh,
it's fully present. Right. That's right.
Oh, this is right on. This is right on to me. That's it. Right? That's it. That's it.
This is a good vintage.
That's it.
So we just, I think, and we'll have to go back.
So this is a lot of exploring, a lot of doing different things, a lot of learning, a lot of trying. But this was finally, and
you had new equipment to work
I did
with.
have some new equipment, new filtration, new understanding. Each one of these things, I'm making 40 or 50 or 60 different wines every year. So I'm learning how to move stuff around and balance and all that stuff rapidly. We're trying to.
Someday you might actually know how to make wine.
I might.
Actually, like I said, we're going to be dead. When you finally make the best wine you've ever made, 10 years later, somebody's going to get
2020 vintages, I think, are going to be, but maybe I'll say that about the 21.
So that's good. So they'll be ready in 2030, and we'll still be around, and we'll be enjoying them.
Right. Cheers to that. So this is 2016. I'll give you the balance. If anybody wants to try to replicate this at home, please do so. It's 510 liters of peach wine. Wow. 74 liters, not 75, not 73, 74 liters of quince. 120 liters of rhubarb.
What are the percentages?
And 100 liters of rosehip.
We need to know the percentages.
Okay. Oh, it's whatever that is.
Doesn't matter. We'll tell you. We'll figure it out. We have a page on our site for recipes.
It's 5/8 peach.
We have a page on our site
0.78.
for recipes.
Yes.
I think that's a great idea. People have commented to me that we always talk about, so in the wine world, many winemakers around the world are very, very closed about what they do to make their great wines.
A lot of winemakers
and we've always been really wide open about it because we're doing something new, and sure enough, we want people to follow.
Please.
We want people to. So we're sort of the open source. You talk about in software, the open source software.
I love this analogy. Yeah.
I do too. Yeah. This is what it should be. Let's open the door and let other people, because you've got 5 opportunities to make a great wine here. After 5 years of working at it, you've worked through 5 different variations.
Hit it pretty good at the beginning.
Yeah.
So in the middle. Now back at about 16.
So if we open that door and dozens or hundreds of people follow our recipe and work with the nuances and try in different yeasts and try to, we'll really get to something that is really superb, really special.
That's an approach by a number of groups to actually crowdsource advancing.
Yeah.
You literally throw challenges out and crowdsource people's ability to solve problems.
I would love it. Can you imagine if somebody read your recipe about how to make Lake House White somewhere else in the world, who knows where?
Yeah.
And they contacted us. They said, you know what?
Yeah.
We took your recipe and we did this and this, and we think we came up with something really interesting. What do you give it a try?
Yeah.
And they came up with something better than we did.
Perfect.
I would love that.
That'd be
and
great.
then what would we do? We'd go visit them.
Of course.
And we'd learn how they did it. Of course. So that we could share it with all of our friends. It doesn't really matter, right? It's the same thing.
Oh, no, it's all great.
That's
it
what
all
we need to
is
do.
for the advancement of all of us together. We're on the same boat. I love the way this came out.
You nailed this one. I hope we have some of this in the library.
I think we got 11 more bottles.
Oh, good. Good.
We save about a case. And I couldn't find it, and I'm quite sad. I think we were selling the 17 Lake House so fast
That we didn't
last
get it in the
summer
library?
that I didn't actually get a case in the library.
Wow.
I have to admit
We'll fix that for 18. So I'm going to try this with some cheese.
All right, now I'm going to open the 18.
Yeah.
How are we doing on time?
I mean, we got time. We got 10 minutes. We're doing pretty good.
Oh, no, we're not even. We've got 3 more wines to open.
those
Bob.
are the other
And
ones.
then we want to compare them side by side. So this might go a little longer.
All right.
We've done that before. We try to shorten it. But, people, 8 wines.
You know what? I meant to tell you this earlier. I tried this wine with a nut.
The walnut, was it any good?
It was actually pretty good.
It did work.
Try it. I'm curious. I have to go back at it. Let me check in with our audience here and see where we're at. Greg's on it. Hi, Greg. Glad you could join us today.
What's his first comment? Oh, look at the color of this.
Ooh.
That's the 18 vintage.
It's getting lighter.
It is when it's fresher, and I know the 20 and 19 downstairs are much lighter in
You
color.
didn't pour it in my glass.
No, not yet.
I'm gonna switch though. So Greg says, when you say quince, rose hips, still so fun to wrap my head around. And he's from Greg's from California, if you know. So there's what is there? 4,000 wineries in California making wine with grapes.
Right.
So who would make wine from quince and rose hips in California, right? So, but that's what we got to work with here. So that's why we do it here. And one of those 9 years old, that's phenomenal. And to watch Bob looking at the bottle like, can I have more yet? That's exactly.
I'm used to that look, Greg. Yeah.
He says, I have older vintages, not sure the age of some.
Oh, gosh, wait till you smell this, Bob. Oh.
Marika says, oh, too bad. For new bottles, you could start writing in the vintages as you get them. Remember that when you go by the year, the fruit was harvested.
So tell the audience about
bottled.
this, because vintages are standard on most wines.
This is a sad story.
If we look at this,
let me switch back
if we look
to
at
the,
this Chardonnay, 2019 Chardonnay, look at that. If we look at this French Chardonnay, look at that. It doesn't, 2019, it has a date right up front. But our bottles, no dates on them.
This is a sad story. Well, I don't know if it's sad, but it's real.
It's real.
The TTB, so there's lots and lots of rules and regulations that the wine industry, not just in America, but all over the world. In fact, in France, the wine industry is one of the most regulated industries in the world.
Hugely regulated.
Hugely.
You can't even grow as many grapes as you want in your vineyard. They tell you how many pounds of grapes you can pull off of your vineyard per hectare.
Highly regulated. So before you get all upset about that, and before you go in,
they make good wine.
No, I know exactly. Before you go any further, maybe you try that with the Lake House White.
Which one?
This cheese. I don't know what it is. It's a great goat cheese. Of some kind of goat cheese with a little cranberry. Try that. Anyway, let me go back. Okay. So all over the world, people regulate wines. And they do it for a very good reason. Mm-hmm. I really do think it's a good reason. Yeah. And you could make the case that it's not fair or it's not right or you should be able to do whatever you want. But it's how you raise the bar. If we don't create these regulations, these standards, then it's really hard to raise the bar and create something really special and really unique. And it's really about the terroir and the region and the area.
Jesus.
Isn't that amazing?
God.
So
Wait you try with the 18.
I can't wait. So it's not always obvious. We don't always know why these regulations are in place. And if you dig in on it, usually you can figure it out. But they do make sense. And I'm not sure why I went down this road.
Well, does it make sense for fruit wine not to have a vintage?
So yes, that's why I went down this road. So exactly. The TTB, they wanted to differentiate it. And I think at one point in the world, for a good reason, they wanted to make it very clear the difference between wine made from grapes and the wine made from fruit other than grapes.
Lesser fruit? Other fruit? Non-grape?
I think it's about the state of where we were culturally, where we were as a.
Well, I know. I remember. I mean, a lot of people. This isn't real wine.
It's exactly
what we make isn't real wine. It's not made from grapes.
We're figuring this out. So the TTB did not allow fruit winemakers. Do not allow today, to this day, they do not allow people who make wine from things other than grapes to put a vintage on the bottle, which I think is disappointing. And I hope someday, in my lifetime, it is a mission of mine. And I've already spoken to Senator Jean Shaheen, who supports my case, but she's just one of 100 senators that we need to get on board. But with time and with a little effort, I think someday we're going to be able to put the vintage on our fruit wine. There's really no reason that we shouldn't be able to. Maybe there's another way we can identify that it's a wine not from grape or something like that. But I certainly think we should be able to put the year, especially since we have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that you can lay down a wine made from quince, peaches, rhubarb, and rosehips for 9 years,
No problem.
and it's going to get better with time. If we don't have the age or the vintage on the bottle, we're never going to know that that's possible.
Right. This one, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a V1 scratched in the back of that. That's for 16, because there's no date on this bottle. Back in 2014 and 2013, it's legal. It's legal. No? So going on forward, try the 18. What do you think of the 18, Bob?
Okay.
I'll try it. No, that's fine, because we got time here. We want to move on. We want to open up these imposters here. These imposter white burgundies that, use a grape. So this is the 18. This is just...
Oh, it just keeps getting better. And you know what? When you add 9 years to these two...
Oh, wow, that's just it. So this is brand new.
It's fresh.
So this
really
is brand
young.
new. It's fresh. It's bright. And so as this ages and smooths out, it's going to... it's 2 years younger than the 16.
Try it with the walnuts.
I haven't done the walnut yet. But
I know.
That goat cheese and the cranberries with this is perfect.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's sublime.
They both jump up when you have them together.
Yeah, scratch that. Not a good comparison. They're too disjointed. They're two different flavors in your mouth. I was mistaken.
So starting with 17 that we didn't have, and 18 and what I have downstairs, 19 and 20. Major contribution from wild yeast. So everything prior was all commercial yeast. But I was too afraid, didn't know, wasn't quite sure.
It's wild yeast. Nobody still fully understands what's happening with wild yeast, right?
But I feel empowered and excited to move that way. So the 17 was the first year, and this 18 and subsequent years all do a big dose of the native yeast on the autochthonous yeast on the
I love that word.
peaches.
I
like that word.
Yeah. I love that word.
Autochthonous. It's a geologic term, or we use it in geology anyway, for things that are.
Isn't that perfect for a geologist that makes wine?
I did this at a talk that Clark Smith was running in the Finger Lakes. I went to listen to his talk, and I was in the audience, and he was talking about wines and wild yeast, and he stuttered on the word. I thought,
it's a hard word.
And I said, it's autochthonous, Clark. And he said, what? I said, yeah, we use it in geology, autochthonous and allochthonous. So allochthonous is from somewhere else. Autochthonous is from the place. So anyway, some people talk about the native yeast that's on their fruit as being autochthonous of that location. Anyway, so here's the 18, and I know I'm really pushing this, but we got to go time-wise. We got to open these other wines.
We got 4 minutes to drink 2 more wines.
I've been trying to move this hard, but it's still.
I'm impressed. We've never gotten through this many wines. You know what's before you open the next one, or while you're opening the next one?
I want to go the French one first.
Okay. So the amazing thing to me is that, first of all, you've been experimenting and learning and growing.
I think they're getting better.
They're getting better.
I'd say so myself.
They're absolutely getting better. But it's fascinating that even in 2011,
2012.
yeah, you knocked it out of the park.
I love the way that turned out. Thank you. That's right.
It's fantastic, and that wasn't your first out of the gate. You had been making wine, experimenting for years before that. But still, that's really. But
not with
early
quince
on.
and rose hips
and you
and
were
stuff.
working in my basement in my little house in Samerton, which used to be an office, which used to be a house, it's amazing.
Right.
We bought some of the equipment off of eBay. It's crazy.
Oh my God. Wow, what's that?
Let me check in with the audience.
Yes, check in with the audience.
Where are we at here? So let's see. Oh, Holly Furlong's joined us. Hi, Holly. And Donna Garnett. Nice to see you, Donna. Let's see. Who else has joined us?
Louis Jadot.
Louis Jadot.
Louis Jadot is on the line? No, it's in your glass.
It's in my glass.
Oh, this is nothing like quince and rhubarb.
Looks like Holly, Holly Furlong played. If you missed it, you missed a good show. She was in our garden last weekend.
I saw the video. I didn't see it live.
It was beautiful. She's a great
I
vocal.
love her music.
Beautiful, and it seems like she knows well one of our team members here, Jessica, who's watching us today. Hi, Jessica, and and let's see, three of you make the perfect.
We have a live
team.
audience, Bob.
We have a live audience.
We have a live audience.
Hello. We have a live audience. Everybody, there you go. There's our live audience.
All right.
Say hello. So they're typing in and talking to us at the same time as joining us, which actually brings me to a point. I think it's next week that we said we'd go live. Next week, right?
You brought that up. I mean, Chuck brought that up the other day.
So let's do it.
Bob, why don't we have a live audience?
I don't even know if I'm ready technology-wise to do this.
You're ready.
Let's do it.
You're as ready as you're going to be, which is perfect.
So next Monday, we invite you, if you want to join us live, to come to the loft between 5:30 and 6:30, and you can be our live audience. We've never had a live audience.
You can come
before.
at 5 and have a beer with Bob
We have a
beforehand.
live audience today, so this is practice session. Thank you. So next week we get to have everybody who wants to join us. We'd love to have you join us live. If you join us live, you'll get to join in, right?
Of course.
Of course. You should, absolutely.
That's right.
So join us.
I mean,
next
look at all
week,
this wine we have
5:30.
open.
I know. I don't even know what we're going to talk about next week.
We'll figure that out.
We'll figure it out. So tune in next week if
Try
you
this.
want to go live.
Try this.
Let's see. Oh, lots of comments. Everybody thinks that's a great idea. Steve says,
Steve Ainsworth?
Steve Ainsworth. There. Hey, Jess. So you know what's really great is Steve.
Steve, we're in your building.
We're in his building. He made this place a landmark with fermentation station long before we ever showed up. And in fact, provided Ken with all of the ingredients he needed to make beer for years.
Oh, yeah.
So
he
it's
helped
really
me out
come full
tremendously.
circle. And now we're so pleased that Steve's daughter, Jess, has joined us and is on our team. So it's really come full circle. So thanks for that. It's really great. We really appreciate it. And now we need to get back to wine because we have 2 more wines to drink. We're going to drink this Louis Jadot. So this is a wine of
So here's a real wine, folks. Here's a 2019 Chardonnay Bourgogne. Origin Maconnais fruit blended with Côte Chalonnaise and Côte d'Or.
So what's really interesting
Aged in
is to
stainless
me,
steel for 12 months.
what's really interesting to me is that this wine was made for the Americans. The French would never put Chardonnay
Right.
on their label.
Right.
Ever.
Right. No way.
Burgundy
It's just a
sold in
Burgundy.
France
Right.
would never say Chardonnay. So this wine, Louis Jadot, is one of the largest importers of wines into the U.S. So this is for the American audience. But this is a French Chardonnay. I can't wait to try it, because I talk about this all the time when we do presentations. There is a big difference between the French Chardonnays and the California Chardonnays.
Absolutely. We're going
to discover that right now. So but let's just see how this one holds up.
Actually, let's do them side by side.
Oh, it's very different. Well, you got the grape right away. I mean, there's clearly, it's grape.
You're no longer sipping quince and peach?
No, exactly. Which is fine. I mean, one of the things I really want to stress to everybody is that we're not trying to make grape wine.
No, of course not.
We want to make the wine out of the fruit that's reminiscent of our, or relevant to our area, or the terroir of our area.
Yeah.
Stylistically, that's all. We're just looking at the style that we want to try and reminisce about.
It's our paradigm. I mean, we were raised on wine made out of grapes, and now we're making wine out of other stuff. So it's going to be different.
I'm glad we did this.
This is great, yeah.
This is really great, because I talk about the fact that our Lake House White is higher in acidity. Our Lake House White is much more like Louis Jadot's Chardonnay than it is, I'm going to finish this, than a California Chardonnay. I mean, nothing we're doing is trying to be a California Chardonnay. They're very different. This wine is made 3,000 miles from here in the Burgundy area of France, and this wine is made in California. This is Kendall Jackson is one of the most well-known Chardonnays in the world. Very different, right? I don't know.
Same grape. 100%.
I get the grape on the nose, but then clearly a different thing is coming through on the nose.
Well, to me, the word that comes to my tongue is steely. So the Burgundy has this steely, slaty, minerally,
and what's
more
that about?
Austere component. Well, I think they don't tell you on Kendall Jackson here, but I believe it's because, no, they do. So, and this is classic. So this is 100% stainless steel. No oak.
This is oak.
And Kendall Jackson is in French oak barrels.
See, that's the biggest difference.
And that's the main difference. And they probably put it through malolactic fermentation. So malolactic fermentation is a bacterial transformation for the malic acid that occurs naturally in grapes. It converts it into lactic acid, a milk-like acid, which is softer. Almost all red wines go through a malolactic fermentation. And some people put their Chardonnay, typical of the big, round, buttery California Chardonnay, goes through malolactic, spends time in barrels, and it softens the acidity, makes it a little bit more red wine-like, or however that goes. But it's a totally different beast than the white Burgundy.
It's totally different. They're two different wines.
Yeah.
I can definitely, as I'm doing it side by side, I know I'm working with a Chardonnay. The Chardonnay
This is just loaded with oak.
It's oak. It's vanilla.
A lot of vanilla. They put vanilla. Marketing picked up on that too. Put that right on the label.
It's vanilla, and that's French oak, right?
Yeah.
Characteristic.
You get out
of French
American oak too. But
okay.
Yeah.
Which would you choose if you want vanilla? American oak or French oak?
I don't know. I think you would choose American oak. That's what they do in Rioja.
Okay.
They choose American oak for more vanilla.
Okay. But nonetheless, clearly two different wines made from half a world apart.
Same grape.
Same grape.
Yeah. Same year.
And this is what I tell everybody when we do tastings here. Everybody gets this idea, I don't drink Chardonnay, or I don't drink Cabernet, or I don't drink red wine, or I don't drink white wine. These are all very silly ideas. There's 3,000.
Yes, those are silly
ideas. It's true. They're silly ideas. There's 3,000 Vitis vinifera grapes. Those are the classic winemaking grapes. And that's just the grape. And then there's literally hundreds of hybrid grapes grown all over the world that are not Vitis vinifera.
And then the grape, same grape, totally different product.
Same grape, totally different product. So there's 3,000 Vitis vinifera grapes, and then a Vitis vinifera made in California versus a Vitis vinifera made in France. Two different wines.
Yep.
So there are literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions,
Oh, yeah,
of
millions of
variations of
permutations.
taste and flavor. And yet so often we have people come in and say, well, I only drink Kendall Jackson Chardonnay. Why? There's so many wonderful, wonderful variations on
Where's our sink?
beautiful wines.
Sorry.
I'm
going to go back to the white face.
That's great. So I'm going to just take
Next
these
to
two
the-
side by side one more time.
Okay, one more time.
Two different wines. It's clearly two different wines. I prefer personally the French version, which is why I think I prefer Lake House White. It's our Lake House White is much more like the French version. But I gotta do what you're doing.
Oh, God.
So I gotta.
So just dump that in the sink, yeah. So this is the white face versus Louis Jadot.
Louis Jadot. And Louis Jadot is one of the most famous wines in America. You probably can't go into any
And not find
wine
it.
shop
Yeah.
or
So this is a big,
industrial.
a big producer.
Yeah.
And so they source their grapes from different parts of Burgundy. And then they list 3 of them, Côte d'Or and a couple others, on the back of the label.
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of synthesize different areas. There are a couple people in California doing that, like Josh Sellers will grab grapes from Santa Barbara and from Mendocino and sort of make a blend, a California blend. But what's fascinating to me is trying these two wines side by side, that there is some profile, some base characteristics that are somewhat similar, that you have acidity, you have structure, you have mouthfeel. But I got to tell you, I think that Whiteface just is a much more flavorful, interesting wine than the Jadot myself. I'm just saying that objectively. I know I made the Whiteface, but still, if I were just handed these in a brown bag, I didn't know anything about them. What do you think?
I have to agree. And I know it's hard for anybody out there to believe. We're obviously the producers of Whiteface, and we're biased. But sitting here drinking these two wines, clearly the most interesting wine. Of course, we have to give this credit for the fact that it doesn't have 9 years of age on it.
Oh, so that's 19. So let's do it with the 18.
We need 2 more glasses.
I know we don't have. Sorry.
That means I have to. No, it's a bad idea.
You want me to go down and get them? We're running way over.
We're running out of time. We'll have to do that another time. We'll do that after the show. We'll do that. I want to compare them, but you go ahead.
I'm going to compare. I'm going to do the 18 Lake House White against the 19 Jadot. There's just so much going on. And I want oysters.
Mussels.
It's got the same steely,
It's
minerally,
it's so.
slaty.
I love it because
which is amazing to me that this is stuff that grows in New Hampshire.
I know. I've talked about
this is right here.
Honestly, and I've talked
This
about
is
this at
what
the tasting
grows
bar
here.
for years, and I've never actually done it side by side. I've talked about it based on my understanding of these different wines and my opportunities to try these different wines at different times in my life, but I've never lined them up at a table and tried them together. And now that I'm doing that, it just reinforces the conversation that I've been having with people for a decade about that's really what we're doing here.
It's not the same. It's
different. It's really different.
The Chardonnay, the white Burgundy, is a wine with its own character, profile,
Sure, I hope so.
format, and it's
made from grapes.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic that you can just take the fruit of one plant and crush it up and turn it into this stuff. That is amazing. But with a little ingenuity, a little creativity, you can take stuff that grows in New England and craft a wine that belongs side by side on the table.
Absolutely.
For some comparisons.
Absolutely.
That's what's cool.
I want to stress again, we're not trying to make a great wine.
No.
What's cool is your version of this, your wine has other nuances and other characteristics and other complexities that the other one doesn't.
It is a more complex wine.
Doesn't necessarily make
Quite
the other
frankly,
one right or wrong.
No.
They're different wines. They have different. They feel different in your mouth. They taste different. But I do think stylistically they're very close. They're very close stylistically. And
you know, what'd be fun to do would be like the top white European wines. So we go to Germany for Riesling. We go to South Africa for Chenin Blanc. We go to Burgundy for Chardonnay. And
do
a
all
bunch of
those
others,
compared
white
with
Grenache,
Lake
and
House
then do Lake House White next to it.
That would be a good comparison. And another interesting thing that would be worth exploring is our next. I can't wait to. Our next.
This year is exploding. I got to tell you all, the world of white wine,
Yes,
coming out of New England is about to change.
I know.
I have a whole bunch of experiments lined up.
I know.
I got different growers I'm talking to. It's really exciting.
We've sampled some of the potential ingredients in some of this new wine that you're coming up with. We're going to have another white wine that I think is going to be
Ozark plums are unbelievable.
I know.
On their own, let alone as a blender for other stuff.
So we're going to have to wait. This is a whole other show.
There's a lot of stuff
in the future. There's so many more things to talk about. So
much more wine to drink.
We're 12 minutes over. We did it.
But Greg said early on when I was texting with him about our episode this evening, he said, why'd you have to limit it to an hour? So that's true. Yeah, so we went over, Greg.
We went over. So I teased everybody at the beginning of the show about something else that we're exploring. And this is really kind of cool and really kind of fun. And for those of you who are having a hard time finding the time to be with us on Monday at 5:30, or finding the time to watch this video at another time in your life, I know that can be difficult. We've considered that, and we decided we actually found this group out of
Chicago.
Out of Cleveland. No, Detroit. Out of Detroit.
Detroit.
This is
gritty.
Yeah.
I love the way Connor said that.
Yeah, there's a group out of Detroit that we're working with right now that is going to help us turn this video blog into a podcast.
A vlog to a podcast.
Into a podcast. So a podcast, and if any of you out there listens to podcasts, you already know this is the truth. I listen to hours and hours of podcasts because I can listen to them at inconvenient times that I certainly couldn't be watching a video. I listen to podcasts when I'm running, when I'm driving. There are lots of these times where I'm sort of just don't have anything else going on, and I need to focus on my running or driving, but I can listen to something else. And podcasts are the great invention for allowing me to do that. I listen to hundreds of hours of podcasts. So we're going to take some of the episodes that we're creating here and turn them into these really succinct 30 to 45 minute podcasts so that you can listen to them at your leisure when you're driving.
Have you ever searched out or listen to other podcasts that are based around a couple of guys sitting around drinking and talking about wine?
I have not. I need to do that.
So
it's a good idea. Actually, that's one of the questions I asked the folks
right?
from Detroit to share with me some podcasts.
Are there other people that are doing this?
Yeah. I don't know. So that's coming. Stick with us. In another few months, it's going to take a few months to put this together, but we want to turn this into a podcast so that if you can't watch us live or can't watch us,
you could listen to us while you're running.
You could just plug in your earphones and listen to our conversation whenever it's convenient for you. And I hope that's valuable to you. We hope that's valuable to you. It sounds exciting to me.
Does this mean we get to drink a second time?
Maybe
on Monday.
Maybe.
Do we do a vlog and then we do a podcast?
Do we need either to decide to drink?
What's that?
Do we need either to decide to have a drink?
No,
together?
I mean like when are we being recorded while we're drinking together?
It doesn't even matter anymore. Maybe that we record ourselves sailing, drinking together.
I know.
Biking,
and we're 8 bottles in now. This is good.
We're 8 bottles in. So wish us the best. We're going to sign off now. It's been a great show. I've had a lot of fun. This has been one of the best learning experiences that I've had,
Bob,
in exploring some of our wines.
I think we're on the right track with Lake House White.
I know
we're on the right track.
I know
with
we
Lake
are.
House White.
So this is great.
This is really.
So listen, thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Please share our video around with your friends if you think this is something that they will enjoy. We look forward to seeing you next Monday, and maybe we'll see you in person. Show up. right here.
That would be great.
That would be great.
You know,
We'd love it if you
look
could
at
make
this.
the time.
For the folks that show up here, you know, the
Look at all
real
this
key. I
wine
mean,
we
that's
have to
why
drink.
when Marika's still here, she's waiting. She's got an empty glass over there going, come on, guys, when am I going to get to try these wines? So if everybody shows up here,
You're going to join us.
for the live audience, can partake.
All right. So thank you, everybody. We wish you the best, and we hope to see you next Monday on our live broadcast. See you then.